Okay, good evening, everybody. Calling to order the meeting of the Cohasset Board of Selectmen, Tuesday, January 20th, 2015, at 7 p.m. We're in the Selectmen's office at Town Hall. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's nice that we have a crowd here and that was so fulsome. Thank you. Before we start, I just want to ask the board for a couple accommodations on the agenda. One would be to move the selectmen update, which is usually in the beginning of the meeting, to the end of the meeting, so that we can get on to some of the business of the meeting. And then the other is just to add some specificity to the appointments that are scheduled right now for 8:15. I had promised, and it was in our packet, that we would entertain a move of an associate member on the Elder Affairs Board into a permanent voting position. And I just neglected to write his name onto the agenda, so unless the board has an issue with that.
I'd like to ask if Bob Hughes was in our thing also for open space.
Is he here?
I don't believe, I don't know, it was in our packet, so
Okay, if you think that's,
no, we can
I'm happy to do that,
yeah.
As long as you think the committee would be, that's one of the things I was gonna discuss in that time period, was just when to do the appointment, so I'm happy to do that if the board
No, that's
is okay with that.
We'll wait.
All right, anybody have any comments in general? Okay. The first order of business is public comment period. Public comment period's a time if anybody has anything to say that's not on the agenda and would like to speak to the board. We do have a public hearing scheduled for 7:10, so if there's no public comment period, then I would request that we move on to the at least handle one of the event applications prior to 7:10 posted hearing, because we can't start that hearing early. Is that all right?
Sure.
Any public comment? Okay. Does the South Shore Arts Center, are you ready to come on up? Come up. South Shore Arts Center has applied for approval for their 60th annual South Shore Arts Center Arts Festival on Cohasset Common. Would you introduce yourself for the record?
My name is Sarah Hannon. I'm the Executive Director of South Shore Arts Center. Happy to be here. We use the Common Father's Day weekend. This year it's going to be June 19th, 20, and 21. It's a well-organized event, food, art, music, and we appreciate the use of the town common and all of the services that we do get from the town in helping us pull it off.
Thank you. Just for those of you paying attention at home or in the audience, I mean, we are in the process of revamping our event application. In the meantime, the board is working off the old application, but one of the things that we're thinking about doing with the event application as it currently exists is kind of splitting it into two. And one is notification of date, time, place, generally what's going to happen, and then setting up a meeting with the town departments that are impacted or that need to weigh in on the specifics of any event in town, and in developing safety plans, parking plans, and et cetera. So I just want to make sure that you're okay with,
Absolutely.
if we approve this tonight, there might be a need to bring you back in and sit with police, fire, DPW, and just make sure all the everything's taken care of for the event. Anybody on the board have any
I
questions?
would like to ask a question. I noticed you didn't ever fill out with the fire department. Do you usually do it?
It usually comes through the health department.
Through the health.
They come and they test
Okay.
the
The health.
propane.
I don't have, see this old
Well,
form.
that,
The health department, you've checked that out, yeah. I can't read the handwriting, but, they have signed it. So the fire department comes through the fire,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine. Cause I know that you've done this, you've been faithful, yes,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I think that, I'm sorry.
That's it, yeah.
I think from my point, you've done this for a long time, and some of the questions may seem unnecessary, but
Mhm.
we've been asking everybody the same
course, yes.
questions, so, so you, if you need to use the schools, have you talked with the school committee or?
Not at this point. We prefer to use the South Shore Music Circus parking lots, but they don't know if they're having anything scheduled that weekend.
Oh, okay.
So we sort of wait till they, and then,
So then it's, your food vendors, it's their responsibility then to, go to the board
yes, yes.
of health. And, Jen, will this require an event permit? Yes, okay,
Typically, there's I believe, an event permit, entertainment permits, and then the individual food vendors get permitted through the Board of Health, and they also then get propane inspections, those that are using propane or electrical. I remember most of it.
Yeah, it's very complete, and I'm used to this.
But the part about meeting with kind of the stakeholders is so that we ensure it's complete, and we're gonna make everybody go through the same process, so that we don't miss anything, and then we have everybody kind of on the same path to getting an event approved and
and then
off and running.
I just had a question out of curiosity, so you say you have, 150 participants, would that be the artists in?
Yes.
Yes, so that doesn't include the vendors, the artists,
The smaller
artisans?
tents is usually less than, it's about 90 smaller tents.
No, I meant the different vendors, like the different artisans that come and display there.
Yes, there's usually about 90.
Oh,
of
okay, I'm
those,
sorry,
but
I
then-
misunderstood, pardon me.
When I read that, so estimated number of participants, those, when you answered that question, you were thinking about actual booths or
Mhm.
units of something, and then the people that come are listed under spectators.
Okay. But the artists that go into the,
Well, we have a big tent.
Right.
That usually has a couple hundred artists represented.
oh, okay.
And then around it are the smaller tents that is usually 90 individuals.
Right, okay.
Kevin, any questions?
No.
Any other questions from the board?
I would move that we conditionally approve the application for the Social Arts Center on June 19th through the 21st. Provisionally with confirmation of receipt of all necessary permits and meeting with the necessary safety officers. Does that cover everything? So,
Second.
Okay, any other questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, you're done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tommy, do you mind waiting till we do the hearing in 2 minutes, or do you wanna come on up now? Okay. Anybody come in for public comment? Okay, so we're just gonna wait one uncomfortable minute, so that we start the hearing at 7:10. I'm gonna pull it up on my thing, and you can actually come on up and we'll get you introduced in a minute.
There's some other chairs here. There's some chairs here.
Sorry, I'll stand, I'm gonna
No,
stand.
no, get the chairs.
Okay, I have 7:10. I'm gonna read the hearing notice. This is a public hearing notice. The Cohasset Board of Selectmen, acting as liquor licensing authority, will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, January 20th, 2015, at 7:10 PM in the Selectmen's Office, Town Hall, 41 Highland Avenue. to consider the application of Sajan Enterprises LLC, DBA Cohasset Wine and Spirits for a change of location from 27 to 29 South Main Street to 807 Chief Justice Cushing Highway. The manager is Deborah H. Sajan, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. The licensed premises is approximately 760 square feet, consisting of one room. The public is invited to offer input on the proposed in writing in advance of the public hearing or in person at the hearing. Have we received anything in writing from the
Ma'am.
public? Okay, would you mind introducing yourselves?
I'd be glad to. My name is Robert Galvin. I'm an attorney in Duxbury. I have been before this board before when Sajan Enterprises acquired the license, which was at South Main Street before. The unfortunate circumstances arose that they had the license there at the 2731 South Main Street. The owner of the property decided that he had other interest in the location, and they lost their lease. They would have loved to been to stay in the village, but unfortunately, there was nothing available in the village for them to find a location. They actually had entered into a purchase and sale agreement for Brook Street, but unfortunately, the seller of that property decided otherwise, and that would have been a perfect location, we thought. After that fell through, we contacted Jack Conway, and Tony Vaca is with us tonight. He's the commercial representative for Jack Conway. And really, he would tell you, and if he wants to speak, that there's just a scarcity of commercial property. There isn't much. In the whole town, on 3A, there isn't hardly anything. We did find, okay, the building at 807 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, which is, you may recall, it was an optometrist office, okay? It's a little commercial Cape Cod building, okay? And we have that under agreement to purchase, conditioned upon the transfer of the license to that location. What his intentions are is to, hopefully that the board granting approval, and the approval of the ABCC, he will then, it's his desire to demolish that building and put a new building in, but we only can go with what the square footage and the floor layout is existing. We can't say something in the future. That would require, in the future, if the board grants approval for the transfer, a second hearing, which would be for the alteration of the licensed premises. It's his intention to build about a 3,500 square foot building. This is all conditioned upon, obviously, his acquiring the property and the approval of the license. I've represented Deborah and Yolinda, called Yogi, okay, for a number of years. They have a package store in Marshfield. In the years that they've been there, they hold a all-alcoholic, seasonal all-alcoholic license and a regular beer and wine license, but that's because there wasn't a full license available in Marshfield. But they've never had a liquor violation, and I know there was no liquor violations while they were operating the store here in Cohasset. They have developed a kind of a unique feeling with their customers. Yogi and Deborah are extremely well qualified in wine, and they hope to. I don't think they're realistic. They're not going to take too much business away from Curtis Discount, which is in close proximity. But I do think that they would offer something for the public, a close relationship. I know that Yogi has told me here. He had people coming in who said that they just didn't know how they were treated otherwise. Okay, they have a personal feeling with their customers, and they've done a very nice job both in Marshfield and here when they were here. They intend to open the existing building if they get the approval until they get their plans developed, and then we'll be back before the board to have an alteration of the premises to show that there'd be about 3,500 square feet. The building down there is a very old building. It needs to come down, and his hope is to build about a 3,500 square foot building, which will give, and I think he's going to be able to have more commercial space, which would be a plus for the town of Duxbury.
Go ahead,
That's
Fred.
it.
Did I say Duxbury? Excuse me, I just, I had one
All right.
hearing in Duxbury a
Well,
couple
then
weeks
there
ago,
you
I'm
go.
still there, everything, okay.
Do it myself.
I apologize, okay, but anyway, they would be glad to answer any questions you have. I think that, we'll give an opportunity for, the public to see, another way, beer and wine is sold, I meant with their knowledge, and I think it's in the public service. I can always say that, competition is good. I don't think they're gonna be able to compete with the large discount, store across the street, but I think they will afford, the public service and public people for the town of Cohasset the opportunity to shop at their store. So I think that's all I have, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. Or Deborah or Yogi would be, Tony Vacca's here, and, Tony, he's the commercial gentleman from Jack Conway Real Estate. And if you'd like to, Tony, would you say about the scarcity of commercial space?
Tony, do you mind coming up only if you're gonna speak, just, so people at home can hear and,
Sure.
thank you.
Here?
Yes,
You can
you can
stand.
stand, that's fine,
Tony Vacca from Conway
Yeah.
Commercial.
thank you.
There is a scarcity and shortage of commercial property, especially along the Route 3 area. And that's why when Yogi approached us and we showed him the property, it seemed like a good fit.
Can you just tell me, have they purchased the property yet, or the purchase is
It's under,
contingent
it's
upon?
under, it's under an agreement, purchase and sale agreement.
You know.
I afforded a copy of the purchase and sale agreement in my packet.
Okay, and that, is it contingent upon getting the liquor
The
license?
transfer, it is,
The transfer,
it
which,
is,
which we're just one step in that
that's correct.
process, because it
correct.
does ultimately,
Well,
that
it has to
decision
go,
resides at
if the board
ABCC.
grants approval tonight, obviously it has to go to the ABCC.
okay,
And then subsequent to that, the sale will go through, and then they'll start the process of, planning for the new building.
okay. And do you anticipate opening it
Yes, I think you're gonna try to open it on a limited scale,
in the,
under
whatever
the floor print
space
that we
now?
have submitted, we have to do that.
Right, so you're contained to the 960 square feet that the license
Yes,
specifies?
yes, I am,
Okay.
yep.
Kevin, do you have any questions?
No, your establishment in Marshville, where is that at? Which
It's
store is it?
located on Dyke Road. If you're familiar with Brant Rock area, there's a Brant Rock supermarket.
Supermarket.
Across the street
Is the liquor store?
is the store, yes.
Now, what you're talking about is, taking this building down and then putting in now, are you talking about levels with commercial? What do you have in mind there?
Yogi, is it gonna be a single floor, or is it gonna be a double floor?
Yeah, it's going to be single floor only. So
Single floor, 3,500 square
Yeah.
feet.
we have to go according to building department what they allow us to put in that. So we'll go according to that.
And you're looking for the 3,500 square feet to be,
Liquor
all liquor store?
Yes.
Because I thought that, the attorney was saying there may be some other businesses too.
No, no.
Oh,
I
this is
stand
just,
corrected
yes.
then, Mr. McCarthy, I'm sorry.
oh yeah, so this would be going from a 900-foot liquor store to a 3,500-foot liquor store, assuming you have the approvals and you
Yeah,
have the
if,
property and so forth.
According to law, if it's less or excess, we will go according to that. It can be 33 or 38. That we cannot.
But that would be, we would have to then approve the alteration of premises.
Absolutely.
So we would have to take the liquor license and change the parameters, and then it would probably have to go to ABCC again, right?
Now, wouldn't, change like that, have to go through our planning board as well? Wouldn't,
Well,
would they have to look at the building?
Certainly the building would be.
department, the building department,
So our,
not the plan, I don't think the planning.
Well, unless
Just the
they
building.
need some kind
Building.
of
right.
variance or something, but that's.
But so
not
they
for us
wouldn't
to
need,
worry about.
they wouldn't need an approval, I'm just wondering, is there gonna be a scrutiny of this at that level? That board wouldn't necessarily see this then when they go to, 3,500 square feet?
It would depend what triggers,
Yep.
if
What
their
they wanted to
application,
do
what their
with it.
lot is, what they're asking to do, and if it's not conforming, then it
Would
would
have to meet zoning requirements,
Yeah, I
okay,
think
I
they have
know
to.
that.
I think there might be some.
For the new building.
parking.
Would
that be ZBA? Yeah, yeah. So, well, parking would actually be planning.
I assume you're not anticipating any kind of drive-through operation here at all?
No.
Anything?
So I'm just a little bit confused, so you're gonna open in the existing premises, or you're gonna tear it down and?
I will try to open after tearing it down.
Oh, okay.
And this would be all liquor store, not bar or anything like that?
Nothing.
They would
We're
have
talking about-
lottery,
We're talking about
they
package.
would have
The
lottery,
lottery,
Excuse me,
they would have lottery.
have lottery, yeah,
Yeah.
just- but
Which
no
I think
open
almost
liquor,
every store has.
yes,
yeah,
yes.
but no
yeah.
open liquor or anything like that, it's all
Yeah.
packaged liquor.
Yeah. Right.
Martha, do you have any questions?
No, the questioning is the questions I would have asked myself.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm assuming you made this far, Jen, because everything's,
So everything is as far as this board, and then it, let's see if there's any public comment, but from that, then we send it, and then they do an investigation on there, and at the ABCC more behind the scenes,
Mhm.
and then it will
Yeah.
come back, if there's any questions.
Is there any member of the public that would like to come up and speak? Please come up and, we're gonna take you one at a time, and please come up and introduce yourself, your address, and thank you.
My name is Melissa Coveney. I live at 17 Ox Pasture Lane. I just wanted to state on record that I am not in favor at all of an additional liquor license being granted in that particular space in our town. We currently, at that end of town, have 2 existing liquor licenses within, quarter of a mile of one another on 3A. So now you're adding an additional one directly across from the existing Curtis Liquors. So I'm just curious, how our public is going to be served by adding another liquor license in that area. Additionally, farther north on 3A, we have 3 other liquor licenses, so adding another one would get a total of 6 liquor licenses within a little over 2 mile stretch on 3A, and I just don't see the need in this town for any more places to buy liquor. Finally, putting something across from Curtis Liquors, which is a long-standing business in our town, a business that's been very supportive of all of the local teams and organizations in various ways, doesn't really make logical sense.
I just wanna clarify that it's not an additional liquor license, they already have a liquor license, but your point is well taken, it's adding, it's that liquor license being transferred to an area that's already well concentrated with other establishments.
Right, and so then you're also saying going from 900, making the building 6 times the size.
So, just for the record and for clarification, we would only be, if we were to, approve this tonight, we would be only approving a liquor license transfer from one address to another, and the liquor license is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is for 960 square feet. The license has the specifications in terms of size attached to it. So, the future possibility of a 3,600 square foot liquor store is for another time to be decided. So tonight, should the board go forward with this, it would be only to approve a transfer of the address for the liquor license for a 960 square foot package store. I just wanna clarify that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Come on up.
Glenn Pratt, 482 King Street. Just so everybody understands, the lot we're speaking about is smaller in gross area than the inside of the Curtis Liquor Store. Allowing this license to be moved to 3A, it appears that we've put all of our issued liquor licenses for takeout package store on 3A. There's nothing left for the village. There's nothing reserved for the village. We talk about revitalizing the village. We talk about economic development and all those kinds of things. Economic development doesn't seem like it is supposed to put 2 of the same businesses across the street from each other. So I wonder if this is something that needs to be thought through and talked a little bit more out with the planning board and people like that. I know you're the licensing authority, but when you look at the whole parcel of what's going on here, the building at 3,500 square feet makes up a third of the lot, which is 13,000 feet. the 3,000 feet for the required parking is 6. Then you've gotta figure out what you can do about septic, which will have to be replaced and improved. And then you're gonna have setbacks of a narrow lot from wetlands and all those things. So I think that by just allowing this license to be moved to that 3A address, we're setting up a bigger issue down the road here. Now, the owner of that land has an address that has a liquor license assigned to it. So it just turns into a whole bigger development thing than what really probably will happen with Yogi. So I just think that it needs more thought. It's probably not in the best interest of the development of the town's businesses. And I would encourage you to deny this relocation of this permit.
Is there anybody else?
Paul Kears, 39 Oak Coach Road. I just wanted clarification from Yogi. He said his plan was to have the liquor license transferred and not execute a business until he tears it down and builds the 3,500 square feet. So is his business plan based on going into a larger footprint already? Or is his plan to operate a business for 2 or 3 years at the 900 square feet and then apply for expansion? So that was my question.
I'm unclear on that too. Could you
Yogi, is it your intention to open the store in the existing floor space now while you're getting your plans for the construction of a new building, which would have to come back to the board?
I see.
So
Open
the
it
answer
up.
is yes,
Yes.
he would plan to go in there, open
Yes.
it up with the current transferred, assuming it works
Absolutely.
out, license at 960 square feet.
Absolutely.
Then go through the process of applying for whatever
Once he
permits.
gets his architectural plans and so forth, which will all come back to the board.
Any other public comment? Board, hi.
Sorry. Sorry for walking a few minutes late, but
Excuse me.
Yeah, if you
Um,
could just identify yourself and your address.
sure.
Thank you.
Jeff Campbell. I live on 52 Ledgewood Drive. So I'm right off of Brewster Street. And I'm a firm believer in competition, and I realize that I probably missed some stuff here tonight that has already been said, but in terms of what the town sort of needs and has right nearby, I feel like I've been in town for 5.5 years and have heard nothing but raving things about Curtis Liquor Store, where it's great for the consumer. I love competition, but everything kind of exists there already, and from that location down to the train station or to the line of Hingham, it feels like there are ample opportunities for what you need already. And in terms of traffic and congestion, living where I do now, there have been some small businesses that have popped up, some very necessary, and an additional one I just think creates even further kind of chaos on that busy area during those times that I think there's no need to have it. So I just wanted to voice those concerns.
Thank you very much.
Diane,
Yes.
a statement. They did try to get another area in the center of town, and they couldn't get it. So
Right.
they didn't, moving to 3A is the last resort. So, that should be notated.
I didn't anticipate further discussion, and I did not bring my licensing information. On what basis do we make this decision? What are the,
So what you could do, if you wanted, is it okay if I speak? Sorry.
Yes, please.
What you
Continue
could
the
do is continue to a date certain, and we can do research on what the board is allowed to do. Just for clarification, they already own this license, and just
Yes.
for the road needs to clarify that this isn't, they're not applying, they already own it. So they're trying to find a place to move it to. So what we can do for benefit of everybody, I can call Ralph Sacramone and just see what the options are. I can talk to Mr. Galvin, maybe he can enlighten me on some, it's up to you, but it's up to the board, but if that would be helpful. I didn't expect, more conversation either, so.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful, only because I think we all would like it to stay in the village, to be honest with you. We also don't have an economic development plan, and that's something we were gonna start talking about, at our next couple of meetings, and that's not your problem, that's ours, but, I think we all realize it would be better elsewhere, but I would like to know some of the parameters of whatever existing restrictions there are with whether there's a cluster issue with having too many in one spot.
And I can find out, what options and rights are of the board, and I can also, talk to the applicant as well.
And I might be putting the cart way before the horse, but I think it would be also helpful to sort of understand what the challenges might be relative to what Glenn Pratt was speaking
lot.
about in terms of what hoops they might end up going through planning or ZBA in getting what they feel would be a viable business structure.
Right, sort of see what permitting might be required for you to do what you wanna do ahead of time, and I'm certainly helpful, I can help you do that.
Because if the transfer happens and then, I think I would like to kind of see this through, at least in my thinking, where we're gonna end up in a year.
Or did you wanna say
No,
something?
no, I didn't have any background, for this hearing.
No, we didn't.
And, we usually try to get that, and I just today had asked for it. And I think there's merit in, doing what Jen said, putting it forward to a date certain to get research.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
I believe that there is no other liquor store on that side of the street, which may, in effect, ultimately help with the traffic, because people aren't trying, if you're coming this
Coming
way.
one direction, sure.
It's-
If I could,
Sure, please.
first I'd like to say that, I think you've held this liquor license for a while, there've been no complaints, there's been no problems with it. You've been a good business, a good, contributor to Cohasset. And so I just wanna make that very clear to the public, while I understand, maybe some others' concerns. But if, the question I had is, if for any reason the expansion were to be denied, because of zoning restrictions or anything like that, would your plan be to keep the business there at a smaller footprint?
Yes.
And I think that's just part of what we need to understand. I'd like to understand that, may have that commitment, but I think it would be helpful for you to understand what the challenges might be.
Sure. Well, I guess maybe I'm separating it into, in my mind anyway, I'm trying to separate it into two things, in that right now in front of us, we have a request for a relocation of an existing liquor license. There are future plans to expand that, which may or may not happen depending on zoning. So, I don't know that I'd be comfortable making a negative decision based on what may or may not happen in the future. So I think there's a lot of considerations here, and I'd like to feel that the board is on solid footing.
Just in terms of our deliberations, that plaza, hasn't there been some problems there in terms of businesses being successful over the years, or is that a flourishing, the plaza across the
The
street?
one that Curtis is in?
Yeah, that whole
Well,
plaza, has it,
all of these places, depending on the economy, have gone up and down.
I think it's been pretty stable. That's
And
good.
stable for quite some time, yeah.
Victoria.
I am concerned, the second point is, I am concerned, about the diversity of businesses in town. I mean, I think that, I'm just saying for our deliberation and reflection, that is on my mind in terms of, how many liquor stores do we need? Are they bunched up or not? I guess we're gonna look at that or not, but, I am concerned about, us having a more vibrant community is one where there's more diversity, and maybe, you certainly wouldn't want a whole ton of liquor stores on 3A and so forth, particularly in light of the fact that, as the attorney mentioned, and the real estate agent mentioned, there's a lack of commercial property. Well, if there's a lack of commercial property, maybe we should be thinking about making sure, or trying to get, something that's diverse and
I-
different, that maybe, and just for our deliberations, I'm just thinking of that.
I have had several queries about the liquor store closing, and was a new one coming in because people felt they needed one down there for diversity. And I'm very sorry that you couldn't move to that area because no one seems to be there.
Brook Street would have been.
It'd be perfect. And,
Well-
I don't know if there's any other place.
I mean, Kevin, to your point, I agree, and I think, but, you know, we did have an economic development committee which really, for whatever reason, just didn't come forward with a plan. And I don't know that it's this board's purview under what we're being asked to consider to determine whether a liquor license should be transferred simply because there are competitors.
No, I'm talking mainly about the diversity of business in town.
Yeah, that's a whole
I think it's a separate
issue.
conversation.
No, I understand, this is part of the, you know,
So-
and whether we should even be,
If,
be,
if, the board is willing, go
also too, I'm not done.
ahead.
I do think there's arguments in favor though of what's been done, because if someone comes in town and they have a business and it's established, you know, we don't wanna see them end up getting hurt, I
Exactly.
understand.
Exactly.
So I wish that, you know, the ideal solution here is a nice liquor store in town there, without any more space. So that's another reflection that I'm thinking of anyways. And, did you say you had a purchase and sales? I didn't have it in my package that you,
We didn't have
We didn't have
anything.
anything.
I didn't have anything.
Just had the hearing
I'm sure I
notice.
sent it over with part of the package.
I never saw the package.
I would
We
certainly.
didn't put everything in when
I
it
didn't
has
put anything.
financial information because it becomes public.
Public,
So
public,
we don't
we
put
just
it
got
in.
the hearing
We
notice.
just get the hearing notice because of the, I can scan it and redact it and get it to you.
if you could see it redacted,
I
send me
didn't
a
even
copy.
have the,
If you don't have
hearing
it, Jen,
Oh, it should have been there.
I
I
have
think
it.
Jen has it, I have it.
we
No, I
have
do,
it.
I just work very careful about what we put in.
I mean, I can tell you the terms of the purchase and sale agreement if you wish, dollar wise and so forth, for values and so
No,
forth.
No, I think you need to.
I'll say, no, we don't need that.
So I think the board, has two options. One would be to consider continuing the hearing to, and I would recommend probably, no later than February 10th. We have a February 3rd meeting and a February 10th meeting. Or if somebody wants to make a motion to either continue or to take a vote on this.
Okay, just one other thing, sorry, delay things, but is there any other, I'm in sort of need of what either Karen or Martha said, of some more information here. Are there any other boards that could give us input? I'm not sure what the mechanism is, I'm thinking of planning or
I don't really think so
I mean, is there any,
on
okay,
the
so,
transfer
so
of the
there's
license.
no, we would just look at that, okay, so
I
we
mean,
don't.
I was just saying, just theoretically, it would be nice to have a plan for the town, but these guys wanna buy a building and relocate their business and,
Well, I would say then that if, you know, we've had enough discussion on this, where the public should be aware of it, if there's any, when we have our next hearing, if anybody wants to come and give us further input, or even better, send it to us in advance, you know,
Yeah.
that would help us, so that, you know, cause we do have to make a decision here.
Okay, does anybody
think-
wanna make a motion? Go ahead, if you wanna talk first.
No, I just wanna make sure that, and this is what my question to Jen was, I wanna make sure we're making a decision on a transfer of a liquor license based only on the transfer of the liquor license. It is not, unless I find out differently, it is not the purview of this board to decide whether a business should be located in an area or not, unless there have been problems with that business, and there have not been. So I think we, in my mind, in my opinion, we need to be very careful about what we are inviting and considering.
Can I ask a question on that line then? Can this board then should not consider the issue of whether or not there's diversity of businesses in our town when we make this decision? I don't know, is that what you're saying, or should we get it?
That's my understanding of the liquor license regulations, but that's why I wanted to make sure,
We'll get that.
so that
So can we get clarification on it from
That's
authorities?
why I asked.
Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly
So who's gonna clarify that
That's
for
why
us?
I
Jen
wanted
will,
to
and
delay the hearing to get our ducks in order.
Then that's where I was going with this. I just wanna make sure there aren't cluster restrictions, or there aren't other restrictions in terms of transferring liquor licenses or having liquor license establishments. Yeah, I just wanna make sure we
And
are
what
doing
the-
everything right by
What the
state
authority is
laws.
of the board.
And what exactly our authority is, and then, go ahead, yep, come on up.
Agnes McCann, 104 Jones Street. Do I am I wrong, or if this transfer were denied and they gave up their liquor license, somebody else could apply for it? We have so many.
And that's,
That's true.
That's true.
Right.
We actually
So
have more
That
than
seems to me to
the
put,
area here.
seems to me that makes it clear that this is about the transfer and not about where it goes.
Right.
And so I'm at a loss to understand why you would
no,
put it up.
my understanding would be if this is a transfer from a location to another location, they would still hold the liquor license.
They still
They
own
wouldn't,
it.
they
They
would
own it.
abandon it, they still hold the liquor license,
Right.
they just don't have a place
Right.
to transact for that liquor license.
They still own it.
But
So
if
they're not abandoning the license.
And is it that this board is uncertain about whether or not it can say okay to where they choose to go?
We're just, we're not
Right.
clear about whether there are any restrictions in terms of that.
We just wanna make sure there's no restrictions, as Diane said, for any clustering or anything, just so that in my mind anyway, the reason I'm asking is to make sure that the public understands the basis upon which the board is making its decision.
And
So you
also
think
too, where I'm coming
So you think there
from,
might be limitations on where you could say okay?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't, we do not know.
I mean, I have, as long as I've been on the board, have never had a transfer.
That's right.
So I just wanna understand what that means, what our authority
yeah.
really
Thank
is.
you.
I think also in light of the fact that several people from the public are making comments and bringing up issues, why it's important to clarify is, well, should we be considering those or not? I mean, should we be considering those or not? And that's what we need to know. Should-
I want the public to understand
What our limitations are.
what our limitations are.
Exactly, so we need to have that
Yeah.
defined, and that's what we're gonna do before our next
Right.
meeting, I presume.
All
Yeah.
right.
Diane, I would make a motion to postpone or
Continue.
continue the hearing. Could we get it onto the third?
Yep. Let's do that, I was just thinking the same thing. So we'll continue, the motion would be to continue the hearing to February 3rd, which is 2 weeks, at 7:10 PM.
I'd like not to delay their business
Yeah,
any
I agree.
longer than.
I agree. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion from the board? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you.
Thank you very
For
much.
consideration,
Thank you.
I hope that Jim will talk to Ralph Sacramone, who is the secretary to the board, okay? I mean, I certainly have been where boards have turned down transfers before, and it goes up to the ABCC, and it's very difficult. And I'm certainly not threatening that, please do not understand that at all. But it's an existing license and a transfer, unless there's something that's been extremely difficult for the licensee holder.
Right.
You know, it's an asset that's a very valuable asset to take away.
And honestly, in somewhat of a selfish way, to Karen's point, I mean, we wanna make sure that whatever decision
I'd
we
be happy to
make,
have Jen talk to Ralph
we are
Sacramone,
able
who's
to
excellent.
explain it to the public, yes.
We-
All right, thank you.
Chairman,
Just
Wait a minute,
Wait
excuse
a
me,
minute, wait a minute,
I gotta-
I just wanted to say that,
Selectman
well,
talking.
part of the
Mr.
reason
Galvin?
for getting the information is to make sure that should the board vote to transfer the location, that there is no, or limited animosity within the public, about the board's decision and
They
about your
understand.
business.
They understand the fact pattern that we are making our
Okay.
decision on, thank you.
Very good, thank
We
you.
don't want a
Thank you
negative
very much.
impact.
Procedural
Okay, yeah,
question.
come on up.
If the hearing's still open, can written comments still be received?
Absolutely.
Received?
Yes.
And when does the financial information ever become public record or not?
No.
No.
Never. So, Mr. Galvin, would you be willing to tell the public what the purchase agreement price is?
No,
Cooperative
no,
one.
No, you know,
no,
hey
no,
Glenn,
Glenn,
excuse me,
Glenn,
excuse me, guys,
I'm not
please, no sidebars. Hey, if you wanna talk, come up here, ask the question, if he wants to answer it in public and address it to me, please,
Right, okay. Who's
okay?
that?
Thank you. I don't, no sidebars,
All right,
thank you.
thank you.
Okay. All right, next is, an event application for our Memorial Day programs. So we have Tom and Dee Wigmore. Come on up. We have the application in our packet. You wanna walk us through this wonderful event? How about- or do you wanna catch your breath and, Steve Farmer isn't here this evening and he, asked me if I would read something tonight, and I said I would do so if it was strictly focused on our Memorial Day activities. So I am gonna read this, because he was planning on sending it to the Mariner. So this is from Selectman Dahmer. Some of my earliest memories are of my father attired in his dress blues Marine uniform heading off to parade drills. From an early age, I developed a respect for the uniform and those who wear it in service to their country. Our servicemen and women do their jobs with extraordinary professionalism, often in extraordinary circumstances. They defend our shores and our freedoms. They go where their duties and orders direct them. Hold on. When their duty is finished, they return to our communities to work, raise a family, serve the communities which they sought to protect. For many of us, acknowledging their commitment and sacrifice often falls to one day in the year, Memorial Day. There is one amongst us who has made it his duty to make Memorial Day, and indeed every day, very special for the veterans in Cohasset. This note is to say a hearty and heartfelt thank you to Tom Wigmore for his unflagging dedication to our veterans. Tom is the engine which has driven a full Memorial Day weekend, and I think it's actually longer than a weekend, of recognition for our veterans, including the parade, the Healing Fields Memorial and Annual Dedication, flag planting on the graves of our veterans, hosting a veterans breakfast, etc., etc. Tom maintains his dedication throughout the year as well, visiting veterans, keeping active with the American Legion, keeping our vets engaged in the community. Thanks to Tom's work, our community has a deep and abiding appreciation of our veterans' service in protecting the life and land we hold dear. We all want to thank Tom for this enduring gift and the warm light it casts within our community. And truly, Memorial Day weekend activities are like no other here in Cohasset. So thank you. So I'm very happy to hear about plans for this year.
It's going to be about the same as last year, but
That's good.
We like that.
we've added a couple of things, but I've enjoyed doing it. Don't know for how much longer, but
Well,
we'll be here.
we got May to look forward to. It's
Yeah.
gonna be, I'm sure, better than ever.
Go ahead.
Tom just wanted to let everybody know here, with the public as well, that he has been diagnosed with glioblastoma cancer of the brain. And we are gonna be starting radiation and chemo on February 2nd for 6 weeks. I'll be doing the chemo 7 days a week and he'll be doing radiation 5 days a week. And we're gonna get through this. We're gonna do Memorial Day, and it's gonna be the biggest one yet. Just to let you know a little bit about what we're planning on doing this year is that obviously the Healing Fields will be set up on January 16th. Sorry. We set it up last week.
Maybe I
Nobody
need to
used
let
it.
You didn't invite me?
That's
On May
right.
16th, excuse me.
The crowd is
And
frozen.
on Tuesday, the Rusty Skippers, good Lord willing that the weather holds out for them, we'll have the Veterans Memorial concert on the Veterans Memorial. And then we'll have a dedication, on Friday there'll be the Historical Society dedication for the Cohasset Veterans Reception. And then we will have the actual ceremony to open the Healing Field on Saturday, the 23rd. I do know that we have a committee behind us now this year, so we're praying and hoping that it's gonna be bigger and better than ever. And we're inviting every single veteran in the town to please come out and support Tom. And then we'll step off on Memorial Day as always.
That'll be terrific. All right. And you know you have a community of supporters that will do whatever we can to help get the word out, get you more volunteers, get you more flags, whatever it takes.
But more than that, you have the Wigmore family, but the two of you have made such an impact on this community that you have the support in thought and prayer and in anything that many of these people in the community can do for you, because we're so thankful for what you have done for this community.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the activities for the Memorial Day schedule beginning on Saturday, May 16th, and going till whenever we feel like stopping it.
I so moved that we.
I think we all wanna move it, but I'll second it.
All right, we can all move it, we all second it, and all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you very
Thank you.
much.
We're here, we're
Thank
gonna
you
make it
very much.
happen, all right?
I'd like to add on to Dee and Tom's invitation to all the veterans to participate in it. I've always thought that it would be, we have a number of people within our town government that are veterans, and some march and some don't. I hope they all do this year. But I hope that some of the other people within town government will come out and march with the selectmen to just show our support for everybody.
It's very important to keep this going.
Yep.
Yes.
Gotta.
Yes, it has.
You got
Major event in town.
Having done it last year, I've got to start practicing now because there's a lot of walking.
Yeah,
This
try
is
taking the microphone away from Chris's father.
You could be the parade chairman.
And actually, Diane, you started the flags, and
Yeah.
it's gone over the country.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, this is
And-
our ninth year.
And that's a very good memory to have.
And I'll remember before the last minute to get my new flags.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing, remind people that they should be going
So the
online.
order forms are ready
The
to
order
buy the
forms, the order
flags.
forms are going out this week.
Can you do it
Um,
online again?
Yep,
You
you
go
can
onto
still
the
go online,
website?
yep, you can go onto the website, just look up American Legion Cohasset, you can go right on the website and purchase your flag. And we're hoping that we're gonna have over 500 again this year.
I don't see why
I'm sure
not.
we will.
Yep.
And I'd like to see more of the school kids and stuff get involved.
That would be
You know,
great.
You know, this is a small town. We've sent a lot of people into harm's way.
A lot of people
Absolutely.
proportionately.
Yeah. A lot of them don't choose to get recognized, but I think they need to be.
Yeah, they absolutely do need to be. We'll work on that, I'll help you with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And now that I know how to put the ribbons on, I'm not a novice anymore.
All right.
I'm a pro.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just a couple of quick things, I'm gonna actually turn to Chris, on the agenda, we don't have a lot, actually, for this particular meeting, but, just an update on annual town meeting's May 2nd. We're gonna probably mention that date, at every meeting from here on out, cause things are starting to get very, busy, and the committees are starting to meet and review budgets and proposals for consideration at annual town meeting. Chris, I don't know if you have had any of we send out a notice of intent, I believe the departments have it, as well as, citizens. We're hoping to get those back, by the end of the month, so that, people will have an opportunity to kind of sit down and flesh out an idea, if they have a citizen's petition, with the leadership in town, including possibly town council. So if, people are out there and have something, be in touch with this office, so that we, hopefully by early February, have a good sense what's gonna be on the warrant, and we can start queuing everything up for consideration at the various committee levels. Chris, you wanna update on anything?
Well, that's pretty much the sum total of it, so,
Well, come on, you gotta, you feel that
Thank you,
was,
thank you for the
I was
town
just
manager
trying to-
report.
Oh, come on, that was just a bunch of nothing, I didn't say anything.
the notice of intents are out. And we did get our very first one, and I have to applaud the Alternative Energy Committee for being the first ones, through the gate.
I'm not surprised.
And there's a lot of, so they actually had, although they come from where their draft articles are actually in town council's hands now being reviewed. So they're actually ahead of the game, so I'll have, I think they've already talked to you, I think have they been to advisory as well?
They made a presentation to advisory, and we understand the outline of what they're trying to do, but I haven't seen the actual outline.
Yeah, I don't have them, but I mean, so they're actually, they're there, and there's some other projects that are also, apart from the bylaw changes to move Quest towards green community status. There's some updates to the positive progress has been made on placing solar
solar field on the landfill. So there'll be an article, that will update that as well.
Has the off location one, they met, last time they met, I think we had a meeting, so I wasn't able to go.
Yeah, as of the moment, the primary site is now gonna be the landfill.
No, but there was a second one that was gonna be off-site, we were just gonna be the purchaser.
Oh, yeah, that's the.
Is that Solar City?
That's an energy, purchasing agreement, that's a different thing.
Okay, but that's still
yes.
in the.
Yeah, that's still, yeah, there's the actual physical site, and then there's this off-site, but we get benefits, we share the benefits, yeah, those are both in progress.
Okay.
The Alternative Energy Commission's been very busy.
Another thing on, in getting prepared for annual town meeting, the, Community Preservation Committee, by law, by state law, has to hold an annual meeting, and they're holding that meeting on January 26th, which is next Monday evening at 7:30 p.m. It's, pretty much just, election of officers, just kind of a summation of what they've done in the past couple of years. There are 2 CPC requests that came to the committee in the fall for potential consideration at special town meeting. We decided to defer those. So I would imagine we're gonna be talking about them and any other community members that wanna come in and float some ideas by CPC. That meeting's on Monday at 7:30.
Now, I missed the last meeting of this month of the Historical Commission, so I don't know if they've worked up any articles yet.
Well, even if they did, I'll be sure to make sure that we have one to create a 250th
Yeah.
committee, so,
Yeah.
yes.
And we did get some from the Board of Appeals.
I don't think there's anything in the packet yet.
No, not, this is,
Oh, yeah, no,
several
that's
meetings ago.
also, yeah, they're still,
They're
well, we
still-
had, yeah, their chairman came in
Yeah.
and spoke, yeah, so they're
Yes.
still,
So-
they're still working up some
They're
things.
still
too.
working
There's a-
on it, yeah.
I mean, everyone, the wheels of town meeting are fully in motion.
Well, that's good.
So yes, we're in progress.
Yeah.
And again, just to reiterate, so if anyone is exploring a citizen's petition, the goal would be if they can get this article, this notice of intent, which is on the web page, if they can get that in, or they can get it print, if they can't print it out for any reason, they can just come in the office, we'll give them a copy. They can get it into us by next week, we can determine if there's a level of interest that we can, again, have that day with town council, so they can potentially pre-vet, see if there's, any issues or paths, which would hopefully speed up the process, so, but that's there, and people don't have to do that, but the bonus of doing it is that, you get a little pre-vetting to hammer out any issues that may come in advance, so that's on target at this point, so,
Do you have any feel yet for how many articles might be coming forward?
I gave you a number, I think a town meeting will be roughly the same length as last year, I don't see it getting any bigger, at the moment. There's the normal routine articles that we have to go through, obviously, things that aren't necessarily routine, but annual events like the budget and some other articles that accompany that capital budget. There might be some zoning, but again, at this point, that's all, and the AEC
And just to what Martha was referencing and Chris mentioned, Cohasset's 250th anniversary is
2020.
2020.
And we need a big committee for that,
So-
because I remember in 1970, we had a very big, very diverse from the community and different boards and everything.
I don't actually know what 250, I know the bicentennial, I know 150 is a sesquicentennial, because I was at BU when we.
Bi-sesquicentennial?
I don't know what 250 is, I'm sure someone will tell us, I'm sure there's
No.
a name for it, but.
I don't know Latin that
It's a
well.
quarter-
But I have that,
millennium.
I do have a conversation about that kind of queued up, for a couple weeks from now, so maybe we can invite somebody,
Yeah.
cause Chris has mentioned it, so I wanna make sure we just have a general conversation,
Yeah,
kind of
well.
fun topic, cause we
You
love
all
talking about John
have
Smith.
Becky MacArthur's the
Yep.
chair, and there's a very good committee now. We've managed to get 8 people finally on, and they meet the first Monday of the month, so I think Becky would love to come.
Great, okay, alright, I'll reach out to Becky.
Yeah.
The other thing I noted on here was, just because there had been some general discussion and, Ted Carroll from the rec department asked if we had, made any decisions about whether to restrict field usage for the town meeting day. I don't know that there's a will to do that, so I just wanted to bring it up with the board. I mean, I think ideally in some communities, they shut everything down, but for spring on a Saturday when some of the sports are just getting going, youth sports around town, I personally think it would be a very difficult thing to do. That morning, and it's kinda interesting, I think accidentally, we set town meeting to begin at 10 a.m., which, usually we start at 9. But that's the morning of the Little League parade, so there's probably a lot of,
What time is it, the Little League parade?
it's usually at like 7:30 or 8.
Well,
and
then
they
at 10 o'clock to be
That's
through.
right.
So I think
Right, we
that,
could,
I think that's fine.
we could do
Yeah,
something
we
that
can do both.
just celebrates community throughout.
Yeah, I did talk to Ted a little bit today about it, and I think that certainly it would be unfair to impose that for this year.
Yeah.
Because they, most of the fields, or the fields are booked from morning till night on that day, and it's not carved in stone yet, but I think that if we are going to consider something like that we need to do it well enough in advance so that the individuals who are responsible for making the plans, I still would like the board to discuss it, perhaps in the over the summer or maybe in the fall for future consideration, because it does seem to me that this is a long-standing and somewhat unique in the country anyway, form of government, and everybody gets to have a voice if they choose to use it. And if people, I mean, I realize that, family and children, and, I have my priorities straight, but I think that your town government, we can't really have a personal effect on our state government, and certainly not on our federal government, but we can on our local government. And it would be nice to have a larger turnout of people to understand what goes on in town meeting. I mean, what is the budget now, Chris, 42 million or
You add everything up for about 50.
50 million now? So that's not an inconsequential amount of money that gets voted through by 100 people in town.
Well, we've had more now. I remember when I first moved here, there were 2,000 voters, and we had a zoning articles and other things, and we had almost the whole, I think we had about 1,800 people show up.
Wow.
To vote for it. It was held in the Osgood School, and I was so impressed with town government. But the population in the community was about between 3,000 and 4,000, and we had a mix of a lot of local people, and a lot of the people who moved in here were, as a former legislator said, we had 250 people that always were moving out, and then a few years later the shipyard closed and all the executives moved out of here, so we had a shifting population a lot. But we had also a League of Women Voters, and we started that, and we gave a lot of information for people to come to town meeting, and then the Girl Scouts ran the lunch, and of course the Boy Scouts came and gave the flags and so forth. So we had a lot more activities. We didn't have all these teams. So it was a different era, and I think by getting people to understand what government is, we do have us on TV. I'd like to really delay town meeting being on the television, because a lot of people, we saw you and it was a fine meeting. I said, why weren't you there to vote? Oh, well, all kinds of reasons. And that may actually deter some people from coming. But we have had this special, we had about 250 people. So that was pretty good, that was better.
So one thing I mentioned last week, just for the record, is Weston if you go on the Town of Weston website, they did a survey of about town meeting. They asked people, you know, why do you come, why don't you come? They broke it up demographically. It's just a very interesting kind of landscape to kind of check out. And then I was, because I'm kind of a geek about this stuff, I found a website last night, an organization called Code for America, CODE for America. And it's codeforamerica.org, and it's just an interesting thing that anybody that's like me, interested in civic engagement, you should check it out. But they are developing, their whole mission is participatory government and trying to get more people involved in decision making, and they're coming up with apps and training programs so that the general citizen, I mean, Chris tell me the name of that app that we will eventually
Commonwealth Connect.
Commonwealth Connect, you know.
Oh, that's very good. They have a publication, which is very good.
But this is something that you can like report if, you know, a hydrant's, and this like rallies different neighborhood communities to shovel out your fire hydrant. Anyway, it's just an interesting thing, and we'll actually continue this discussion a little bit in a few minutes when we get to committee. Well, actually, I'm just gonna go right into committee update. One of the things we have is moving one of the associate members on the Elder Affairs Board because of a resignation from that board into a full voting member. So if I could invite Paul and Jim up, and you, Paul, you can give us the 411 on the situation and introduce Jim to us.
Paul Kears, 39 Old Coach Road, Chairman of the Board for the Cohasset Elder Affairs Department. Jim mentioned 14 Base Lane, current associate member, hoping to be permanent member. Happy New Year to the Cohasset residents watching at home and to the board. And hoping for a happier New Year for FY16. That's the goal.
So exactly. So Ed Melvey resigned.
Ed Mulvey has resigned, and
Long time now.
long time. You know, like the Wigmore family, there's a few folks in town who have dedicated their whole life to civic duty. Ed Mulvey being one of them. Ed Mulvey, my mother Rose Kears, Anna Bruzy, and Father Cohane were actually from St. Anthony's Parish, were actually on the first board of Elder Affairs, and trying to put that whole thing together. So, and there's folks like, you know, Glenn Pratt, who have worked so hard with the community center to help make a home for Cohasset Elder Affairs. And now we're at a point where we've got a private 501c who has helped get us a permanent home, so that you know, the town now has a place of its own for its residents, for folks like the Wigmore family who could come down, or the veterans that want to come down to enjoy the day or enjoy the evening for different events. So it's always there for those type of people, so that's hopefully going to occur.
That'll
We
be
have
on another agenda.
Yes.
Yeah,
And,
we're working on it.
absolutely. So it's fitting that you know, this, as we move forward towards annual town meeting where we talk about the subject matter of perhaps 91 Sawyer Street, that everyone keeps that in mind, that it's a home for the Cohasset residents, no matter what age you are, and that's really what it's for. So with that said, we've had an adjustment in our board through the midterm of appointments, where our appointments are usually 3 years at a time. So Jim will be filling out Ed's remaining term, which is going to 2016. And he is an associate member currently, and also now there'll be an associate member vacancy, and Tana Carlson, our vice chairman, she heads up the committee to gather applications from the town and to solicit from members of the town, anyone interested in filling those positions.
Good.
Several years ago, the town enacted an associate's position to help foster director positions, to get people acclimated to the process and kind of gear them up. So that would be great. So with that said, Jim and I happen to be Marine Corps veterans, and Jim unfortunately was also in the Navy.
Wait a minute, which came first? Because this is really troubling.
And So, I like to tease about that every now and then, but Jim is also a doctor and resides here in town, and I think Jim can speak for himself on
Yeah,
this.
if you would give us a little, and I know you've been on Elder Affairs, just give us a little.
Well, I don't have the history as many of you guys have with family members here. I only moved here in 2002 with my wife. Yes, it's true. I was in the Marine Corps, followed by the Navy for medical school. I'm currently a junior partner with Health Express, some urgent care centers, and I'm trained in emergency medicine, having worked at various emergency departments over 18 years. It's my opportunity to give back to the community. It's been something always I was raised with, to give back and be grateful for what you have. My wife has given back as a volunteer for the flu clinics. She's a nurse and substituting a school nurse from time to time. Now it's my turn to give back to a segment of the community that sometimes gets forgotten by my generation, quite frankly. I've had the pleasure and the privilege of taking care of some of the patients from Cohasset during my time at South Shore Hospital, and it's part of, since I'm no longer there, it is a way to continue to give back to them.
Thank you, Jim.
I'd like to ask, if I may.
Please.
Is there any special, special thing you would like to foster on the committee that hasn't been done or expanded?
To be honest, I haven't been on the committee long enough to really render a judgment. I've been silence is probably the best attribute I have, and I listen. And I need a lot more experience before I can really give meaningful input, and Paul's gonna help guide me with that.
Well, I think this is we haven't had a doctor, I believe, on the committee, so I think it gives a more rounding to it, and particularly where you're new here, you have a different perspective than us, people who've lived here forever.
Well, I'll tell you, I did seek out Jim personally because of being a physician and being that with the new changes in the healthcare law and with seniors having an opportunity to maybe speak with Jim or kind of understand what really goes on behind the scenes, because you know he gets the stuff in the mail, you've got to try and read it and understand it, or you call Nancy over at Elder Affairs and ask her, hey, I don't quite understand this stuff. So Jim, during the board meetings, can help really clarify a lot of that stuff for us and help the members. That's been really, really helpful for us. And also understanding, what we may need for the vans and transportation. We had talked about getting some equipment on the vans for emergency needs.
Excellent.
And especially in the new center as well. We certainly do things like that
Are there
there.
grants or companies that do give things to senior centers in that
We've
field?
actually are looking at both.
Yeah.
We're looking at some corporate sponsorships, and we're also looking to see what other funds are available. I know usually through the first responders and fire department, there's grant money there that is usually shared responsibilities with Elder Affairs, such as getting the detectors in the homes and that type of stuff. So
That's wonderful.
it really is molding together nicely, and I think having Jim on board is really going to help us, especially in the event that we move into the new center, we get that thing up and running. We can also do some training. With Jim on board, we can have classes for all kinds of various health issues that will help people better understand it.
You expanding classes into different areas than you've done now.
Oh, exactly, right. So right now, what we're doing at Main Street, we're limited to the type of classes we can have or the type of events we can hold. I think with our board emerging with the different talents that we have with people, I think specifically to Jim's talents, we've seen it come across the country now where healthcare is being pushed down to at-home products and processes and procedures. So I think you're going to see more people being pushed to stop coming to the emergency room, try and treat things at the local level. And what that means is that Elder Affairs is going to be tasked probably more and more in the future with trying to provide educational programming and classes for those residents, and perhaps more of the outreach where you actually have to go out and see more people than you normally would have, because hospitals are trying to defer people to the local level.
That's right.
I think the also thing too would be to strike that balance between safety and independence. And if you wanna pick the topic, seniors are most frightened of is sacrificing one for the other.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, especially in conjunction with Chief Silver from the fire department, we can strike that balance so our Cohasset residents can stay in Cohasset and stay in their homes safely.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
thank you.
I recall, from some years ago, so maybe it's changed, that's why I'm asking. Ed was representative from another group.
So, right, so there is
He
a
was
South
from the
Shore
Rotary.
Elder Affairs Association,
Yeah.
that's out of Braintree. And they have their own board of directors, in which Ed Mulvey was on the board. And Frank Campbell, from the president of Pilgrim Bank, was also on the board. Frank is no longer on the board, and Ed was no longer on the board.
Yeah.
And I believe the board had asked Ed to come back as South Shore Elder Services.
So,
So he'll be
so we
back.
won't, or you won't have a representative from South Shore Elder Services anymore, or?
We believe
Will
Ed
Jim
Mulvey
be-
will be.
Ed will come back in that capacity?
Correct, that's what we believe right now. So we've
Okay.
contacted South Shore Elders to find out. We were told that they have a board position for each town, and I'm not sure this is accurate, and that their town has a liaison, so we don't know if there's two or one.
One.
You know, if the liaison is actually the board member or not. I'm not clear on that, so we've, Coral Grande has put a few calls into
Okay.
them to find that out, and
Yeah.
we interact with them daily to weekly, at minimum, with other services. So we do talk to several other people at South Shore Elder Services every week, just not the decision makers on the board part of it. So we're just trying to see clarity on that, and of course the Meals on Wheels comes from those folks.
Right, and yeah, I just didn't know whether, Jim would be picking up that position, but obviously not, cause he's not on the board.
Right, so we're trying to clarify that, cause we do want a direct link, because, as a regional area, you know, and we're the local piece, with having that facility at 91 Sawyer Street, it kinda lends itself to, allowing us to do more, for this area, so, you know, with that type of venue, there's plenty we can do.
And the, Ed was great, cause he was wearing kind of both hats when he was on the board at the South Shore Elder Services.
Right.
And he just happened to be on Elder Affairs, Cohasset Elder Affairs Board. But it is a liaison position, so we don't have to hold a spot on the CEA, correct?
Correct.
For that
Or you could
liaison.
be could you be the designee of the CEA?
Yes,
No, so, well, they're
the other way.
two separate entities completely.
Yes, I
So
understand
they
that.
have their own board, but
Be
there's
the
no.
designee from your board to this board?
No.
No, you can't
No,
do it
they're
that
not.
way.
We-
Works the other way, huh?
Yeah, so
Okay.
we have, with Cohasset Elder Affairs deals with many, different agencies and nonprofits that provide, services, help and assistance, throughout the course of a year. And, this one has probably got a greater link to us because it's the South Shore Elder Affairs, and they're tied in with the Meals on Wheels, so we have more direct input now. I believe that when you become a board member of South Shore Elder Affairs, I believe Ed told me it was a 9-year commitment.
Wow.
So, and there's no opportunity for renewal, so Ed is there, so, and we can get that clarified
That's
as
pretty
well.
good for you.
So, ours is 3 years, and, here, and I believe, Duxbury has a 6-year commitment on their board.
A little easier.
So they kinda give you an idea of the commitment that people have around the South Shore.
Kevin, do you have any questions?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay, would anybody like to make a motion to
I should
appoint Jim?
move that we.
Who seconded?
We have to have two motions. One, that we accept the resignation of Ed Mulvey from the Board of Directors of CEA, and then the second one would be to appoint, Jim mentioned to a position, to fill the position of Ed Mulvey till 2016 on the Board of Directors of the Cohasset CEA.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, welcome aboard.
Welcome, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so, I also, a couple of things that I just wanted to discuss with the board, a few things. as far as I know, there's, a couple of committees that are either in the process of forming or haven't formed, and I just wanna, make sure I'm okay with the status, or that I have the correct status. I know Open Space just met.
They just met, we've appointed one renewed, we have 2 new members. We've received an application for another member, and there's 2 more individuals contemplating joining it, but, one of the things that was brought out is the open space and recreation plan, which we must have because, it's a requirement for the town to get certain state grants, that expires in 2017. That means that the committee will have to start working on revising it as soon as possible, because it took a long time to do it. So we could use more hands on that committee.
Yep. Do you know whether it's, and cause I looked at the materials,
Yeah,
thank you, but
there's-
is there a charge that we're supposed to, the Board of Selectmen, since it's?
It's really a state thing,
Right,
so.
and is there a process for kind of revamping the open space plan? I mean, do we start with what we have when
We
it
start with-
expires and then kind of revisit?
What we did last time was to RFP for a consultant to do it, it's the
I know, it's very thick, yeah.
It's very thick and very involved, and so it may be, because the committee hadn't met for some time, that it may be not a huge rewrite. There may be a lot of things that are in there that are, are not falling off because they haven't been done yet. But it does reach across all aspects of town, departments and government, and it's really kind of a very exciting committee. There is a process that's controlled by the state as to what has to be in it and whatnot. And then what guides the committee's actions is the plan. So they set forth, and other departments and town entities set forth, this is what we are going to do in this time period. And it's the committee that monitors it and ushers, kind of
So,
gets people to do it.
Chris, if I could ask for your input too, so I wanna make sure we do what we need to do to get that train a rolling as well as possible. Is it something that we should bring them in? Would February 10th be too soon? Should we do it at the end of February and kinda just, or should we have a off?
It was a very
meeting?
preliminary meeting, and where there are some new members, I think that they could use some time to get organized before we ask them to come in and actually tell us what they're,
And should
especially
they-
where there's new members.
Should they be liaisoned with some of the staff members, since ultimately it's probably gonna cross into staff execution, since committees don't?
Yeah, I think, obviously, if there's gonna need to be an amendment in the next couple of years, it's not urgent for today, but we're gonna need to get clarification on what needs to be done, the process by which it needs to be done. And again, correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but when I read materials on this last year, there was a lot of work done initially when the state required all these things to happen. Once you have a plan in place, it's a lot of, it's more of an update and a follow-up. And I think I did notice there were communities in the process of doing regular updates. Everyone's kind of cyclical, I guess.
Well,
So-
it's for a certain period of time, so ours expires in 17,
Right, but it's different. The plan was created a number of years ago.
a long time ago.
So,
Yeah.
but it was
Yeah.
required to be, no, it was older.
Earlier than that.
And the state said, you need this to do X, Y, if you don't, you need this to do other things.
It was in the early 2000s, I worked on the first revamping, so the very first one was before that.
So a lot of this, some of this will also come from how the administration decides to tack, I mean, this is a state.
Do we have
Right.
anybody that like is
No.
checking things off?
Well, no, but I think what'll have to happen is I'll sit down, we'll take a look at this, I'll sit down with Ted, Carol, and the folks in rec, because it all interacts with them to a large extent as well, and get and figure out what the path, and I'll sit down with the committee as well.
Okay, so maybe
Well,
just another update and.
It's less, can't think how to explain it. The state says you must have something regarding this, that, or the other thing, but the local municipality determines exactly what that is.
Oh, of course, right.
So
But-
it
But the plan is mandated in order to tap certain funding streams.
right.
So it's you have to have this in order to participate in.
But this is regional too, isn't it?
Well, no,
No.
the plan is Cohasset.
But the plan is Cohasset, but the whole original,
Oh, the whole concept is
legislation
for this,
was
is to be really
regional,
statewide, actually, so,
statewide, yeah, now it's dawning on me, 'cause
But again, well, so
Okay,
I'll
so-
go back, we'll take a look, I'll
Yeah, okay.
talk, in fact, one of the members came in the other day to look at the plan, it was very good, she was doing her homework before she
That's
came in.
That's
In fact, it is a big, fat, thick plan, and
And, right, it's one of those, it doesn't leave this lending library, you gotta come in here and read it, cause I
Yeah.
think there's
Well,
just
I
a few
I
copies.
really
we need
don't
to get
think
online, I
there
think,
should be much lending
It's
here.
online, well,
No, it's not
We have it
online.
electronically.
We have it
in a
electronically,
few different
yeah.
parts.
it's in two parts,
Two parts, so we
because it
can,
was too big to say.
Yeah.
The other thing, and it's funny because the Cohasset Cultural Council, which is also a state
Yeah.
program, entity, also doesn't have this, which makes me a little queasy, which is, what the committee size should be. So I do think at some point we should sit down, because how do you know what a quorum is if you don't know? I mean, is it a quorum of just the people that happen to be on that committee that day, or is it, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's a good
I just
question.
would love to kind of clarify some of the protocol for the committee.
Yeah, under the state guidelines, under the workbook, if you read through it, the committee does have a lot of leeway as to its composition, and they can create subcommittees of people that are not on the committee.
Right.
So it's fairly,
but you do have to decide what it's gonna be, so it can be.
And I would like to have that conversation because, are there people that really should be a part of that conversation, whether it's somebody from planning or whatever, going for it. So
Well, it's
we'll do
primary-
that
yeah,
in
its
a while,
responsibility
we'll
is to
let them
create the
get
plan
their
and
sea
update the plan, I
legs.
mean, that's what
no,
primary
it's much
responsibility.
more than that. It's actually to implement the plan, to oversee it, and to liaison with all the different, entities within it that have pledged to do whatever it is that they have pledged to do. It's a fairly strong committee.
So let's,
One more fun thing. So.
yeah. I
No,
just
that
wanna
is a
make-
fun
yeah.
thing.
It is.
Yeah.
No,
No,
I'm not
it's-
saying that in a
yeah.
bad way.
And
This
the
is
people
all-
that
this
have
is
been
all
on it
fun
in the
stuff.
past have been very dedicated to it.
Do you,
And,
No, this is critically important. I mean, the town's taken a real serious tact on preserving open space, and I mean, it's one of the reasons this is such a beautiful place. I mean, people have taken a real active interest, not just today, for the entire life of the town. You can see it. So this is just the
Nice.
most recent implementation of that will. So,
so Carolyn, do you wanna go forward with appointing Bob Huey, since we have his application and there's,
well, we did, not some of us, Kevin wasn't on the board, we did meet him when he was on stormwater previously. I don't know if you're more comfortable asking him to come in, that's fine too, but.
Maybe he could give some of his vision and thoughts about.
Okay, why
I'll
don't
do
I-
whatever you wanna do.
why don't I, do you have a meeting scheduled?
I have not, they were going to get, a meeting date, it's been a little difficult to get everybody together. I think now that I'm thinking about it, Madam Chair, that, it might be helpful to the committee to have Bob, appointed and be a
I
member,
have no
because that
problem
gives
with that.
them one more,
It's fine.
Yep.
since he's a known entity to us.
Alright, do you wanna make a motion?
I move that we appoint Bob Huey to the Open Space and Recreation Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so putting that on. And stormwater, do we know if they're okay?
No, they're not okay, they need, at least one more member.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I received a email from the chair recently saying that, he was hoping to reach out to the Mariner and to us.
So if we
to help
could
recruit.
just put that out there, that there are, at least one position available on stormwater.
Stormwater is also another committee that's really critical. Cohasset has a lot of stormwater issues that impact many residences. So
And that has a board of selectmen charge.
that has a board of selectmen.
So that
charge.
might be a committee that we could have come before us in a couple of weeks or something,
I think
just to,
they'd welcome that.
that would be great, I'll do that. And
Noel
then,
Collins is the
yep,
chair.
and then the other committee that's, very much in limbo is Economic Development Committee, which I've talked to Chris a little bit about. I would like to put that on a future agenda, just to have a general conversation. What do we want from an Economic Development Committee? You know, what would we give them for a charge? Because there was a committee, they had a charge, they did a plan, and then it just kinda dispersed. So I think the first conversation from us needs to be, do we need that committee? And if we need that committee, what is it that we need them to look into, address, deal with, and that's a board conversation.
I may,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I definitely think we need the committee, we need to get a charge, and a lot of communities, the Economic Development Committee is active in holding activities, helping support the Winterfest and developing things. A great resource, as well as if we wanna, reference them, for any of the issues that we're dealing with. And economic development is one of the things that this town lacks. It's mostly, our tax base is
And
mostly.
they could work with the, Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, they could, exactly, they could be.
Which just got a shot in the arm. I mean, they're starting to get.
That's right,
Yeah, I
so
know, I
They
know
go
if
through
we support them with
phases.
a good, an economic development committee, and, you hear and read in the paper every so often, economic development committees in other communities have started an initiative, they've got this going. It's very beneficial, and this is one of the things that this town lacks, so I would like to, I really think we need to get that could be a very important committee to this community.
I was on the board when we first appointed or formed the Economic Development Committee, and the intention, which I think didn't translate well into, I think it's a very poor charge. It didn't translate well, and I think that the committee itself tried to create a direction and did some good work. And after that, I know there were some excellent people from within the community who have experience who got on it, but it never really got traction. But it is something, I know we have at least one person who was appointed. I don't know that her term has expired yet or not, but she's very anxious to become involved, was very active in another town, so
Good.
I think that this
Yeah,
is-
and I think it's our responsibility to set them off on the right adventure, if you will. And also, and I may try to get all of this on the next agenda, because I did speak with with Taffy Knopfnagel, who's very interested in getting the Cohasset Housing Trust, again, re-engage, we need to have a discussion about what it is, what they need, and how to move that conversation forward. So we'll queue all of those up as
Good.
a big discussion, probably February 3rd or February 10th. The only other thing, is that we had discussed also in conjunction with committees, is our participation in the Health and Rec Fair, which is on March 22nd. I just wanted to poll the members. I know Martha's gonna be away.
No,
No?
I'll be here, it's the next week, I'm away.
Oh, okay. About participating, having a, just having a presence at that really great townwide event. Maybe we could take shifts on it, but I think ultimately one of the things we'll have is, and Chris can update us on the committee handbook. It would be great to have that then, and have those of us that can be there for a few hours just to
Pass it out.
pass it out and ask people questions, and if they say, well, what is the advisory board, and, how do I
Yeah,
get
great
on,
idea.
how do I deal with whatever, we can answer those questions for them and take some leadership role in encouraging them to do so.
That's a great idea, I think
Yeah.
we should do it.
Okay. Chris, do you wanna just update on the committee handbook? Is it,
It's actually, it was very close to being done several months ago, and it was kind of sideburnered. But Carol St. Pierre sent me a copy to look at yesterday. So I've taken a quick look at it, and I think we're almost done, quite frankly. So, and the other piece that I'm starting work with her on is the town meeting handbook. So,
Town meeting.
the handbook for town meeting. So I've looked at a couple other communities, and I think gonna kick that around a little bit, bounce off the moderator, and then
Good, and we can take that and post that up on the website.
Correct,
Good,
correct.
Chris, is
I'll,
the,
I'll have the committee handbook up there too.
good.
yeah, is,
Good.
what size is the committee handbook? Is it a large document or?
20 pages maybe, something like that.
And what about the town meeting, how's that?
That's not done, so I can't give you a
You
comment.
don't know roughly,
I mean, I've looked at some that are 40, which is a little long.
right?
So I think we'd probably, again, you know, we don't wanna you wanna have information, and again, having it on the web allows you to put links, so you don't have to put
Yeah.
everything in it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that, you know, we might wanna have some small handouts that have the link to that page, cause sometimes it's a little difficult to navigate around the website and find what you really need to find. So,
Yeah.
I think, because there's so much up there, there's just so
Yeah.
much there. And I think, you know, if you're going to do it, rather than, you know, print out 100 copies,
Right.
to hand out little cards or
I
something.
mean, if we
that
could,
says-
when we do the warrant, maybe we could put the links, you
We
know.
should do that too, yeah.
There's a reference there, you've got our warrant, now if you want, here's a town meeting
Mhm.
handbook that goes with the warrant, I guess,
Right.
that would be a great idea, and people can.
And same with the committees.
Same with
We did that
committees,
town
yeah.
bank thing in the back.
All we need to do is distribute the links, and then when we're asked questions,
Yeah.
we can just
I
send
don't
you
know,
the link.
just go look it up yourself.
Diane,
There's a link.
Yes.
Years ago, when the League of Women Voters was here, we did a book on the town, all the different committees and everything. And that's many, many years ago. I'll see him dig it out. It's somewhat what the handbook would be.
Yeah, I think Carol, St.
She
Pierre
might
actually
have it.
referenced that when she started building
Yeah, yeah.
the committee handbook, so.
So
She might have a copy of the library or something, because I can see it, but I don't know if I have it anywhere.
All right, so those are all in motion. I'll move on to selectmen update. Martha, do you wanna go first?
Well, the only thing I can think of is, we had a longtime fireman, Art Sullivan, who died this week, and would you give a few minutes of,
If I could also ask to remember Jack Rhodes, who is
And
a
Jack Rhodes, yeah.
longtime police officer who also passed away in the last couple of weeks. And
Yeah.
we'll have a moment of silence for them. Okay, thank you.
and then Kevin and I were at the, Martin Luther King breakfast, which was very interesting.
Very interesting,
I heard.
interesting.
Very interesting. We had a very nice speaker from, city councilor from Boston, Tito Jackson, whom I knew of, and he was terrific.
He was excellent.
He's really someone who's gonna go up. He's a very good representative for this district of Roxbury and Dorchester, and the different things he's done and the way he feels about the world and what's going on. It was a very good, and Peter was there too. Everybody missed a very good meeting.
Oh, it was great. Well, can I add in on that? 'Cause that's what I
Yes,
was thinking.
please.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that Tito Jackson mentioned was is that when he went to college, he went to the University of New Hampshire and he got there, and he was on a person. There were 5,000 students. There were 55 people of color, which is what he is, and so then he inquired as to, well, where's the diversity committee and council and so forth. They found out that the diversity committee and council was an unmanned telephone, and there were a lot of issues. So anyways, he and a number of his students, this was probably 15 years ago or so, whatever, got together, and then they approached the administration, and they took the initiative to ask for more diversity and soliciting students from, you know, a wider range and so forth, and to beef up the council, the multicultural council and so forth. At any rate, then he noted that last year, that same school now has 550 people of color now in their class. So it was an example of, he was saying, and I thought it was really impactful. You know, if you don't get out and do things, you know, who is going to do them?
Right.
And we took the initiative, and you could see from his life that's what he did. I mean, he
Exactly.
had a great example. I thought, now I won't talk too long, but he said, you know, we all admire Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy and George Washington and all that. He says it's all wonderful and everything, but he says they're not here anymore. He says one thing you want to keep in mind is that we are it. If we don't get out and do something, we do.
Yeah.
And so it was wonderful, and that breakfast is something I've gone to for several years now.
I
This
have
is the
also.
13th. I really recommend families and people really should go to it. It's just it's a wonderful community time. You hear really interesting stories, and it's just, I think it's just a wonderful breakfast, and so I think all that the Second Congregational Church put on this year, it goes to each church each year, and so the clergy community really gets behind it. Very, very good occasion, and the breakfast, I don't wanna go on too long, but the breakfasts are marvelous there. They're delicious and very informative.
And it's a very eclectic group of people that are there. Chris was there.
They're very eclectic.
Speaking of
Talking about eclectic.
we got a New Yorker.
We had a New
Yeah.
It was very good.
Karen, do you have anything?
I really don't have anything except for, just to piggyback on comments we were making earlier and for what Martha and Kevin have been saying is that, you know, it's another example of people within the community stepping forward, and Connie Afshar's, you know, the face of it. But it takes a lot of work to put together an event like that and make it successful, so, it's another example of how, what can be done within a community, to add to our sense of community.
Absolutely. And my old age is gonna show, but I don't believe, we did get a letter in our packets last week from a resident, Tom Hickey, that I don't think we read, and we usually do if we get a comment. Did I read it?
No, you didn't.
Okay, so, Mr. Hickey wrote a letter to the selectmen, regarding Sergeant Jeff Trainer and Officer Daniel Williams. Just a quick note on the professional handling of a minor traffic accident I was involved in on December 26th, 2014. Both officers responded immediately to the scene. After arriving, they made sure both parties were physically okay. Although I was a little shook up, they calmly assured us that we were in good hands. They should be commended for their coolness, training, outstanding work, and dedication to the profession. My brother was a wounded disabled officer in Hartford, Connecticut, so I realize how difficult the job may be, and sometimes their endless tasks are forgotten and taken for granted. I give thanks to the Cohasset Police Department and will not forget their endeavors. Thanks again, Thomas Hickey. It's always nice to
Get positive.
read positive letters like that, so thank you very much. And that's all I have. Anything, Kevin?
No, I'm set.
Okay. Town manager?
So I echo what Martha and Kevin said. It was a great event, and I'm glad I was able to participate. Really great program, and a nice opportunity to meet and see people in the community outside the office, which is nice. The Safe Harbor Cohasset Coalition is presenting a program on Wednesday, February 4th at 7 o'clock at the Cohasset High School Auditorium, called What's Happening Here and Now, an educational forum on today's substance abuse crisis. So I think everyone has one of these in there. And that's the,
Just a little side note on that February 4th program, one of the guest speakers for that evening's program is in the box tonight at the State of the Union address. She was invited by the president. So it's
so
gonna
we're
be
getting some high-end speakers at this
very
program.
high-end
Yeah.
speakers at
Yeah.
the Safe
Should be
Harbor
the
program.
excellent.
Yeah, it should be. So again, it's free. It's open to all, and there'll be there's some great panels or discussions during the course of the night. So mark the 4th, and if you have any questions, I think this is up on our website.
February 4th.
February
But I'm saying I
4th.
think the flyer's up on the website.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
and you gave us all one in our packet.
Right, but if anyone out there wants to learn more, it's on the website. So, I'm gonna be completing my third and final round of procurement training, the first week of February. So I will be around, but out of the office. I'll be working, but in Boston for 3 straight days, including the next meetings. Just so you know, so I'll be rushing back to Cohasset. I will make the meeting. This happened last time when I was doing it, so I will make the meeting. But so I'll be in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of February.
3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday,
And
Wednesday,
the
Thursday.
Mass Municipal Association is this weekend, so I will be there with a couple of you, I think, on Friday. And then we're doing an emergency management drill here on Saturday morning, so I'll be in town here on Saturday.
Is that something that the community's even gonna notice is going on, so there's no need to?
No one will notice anything. When we do it again at a larger level, we will.
Okay.
This is really just to it's just to make sure that we know internally how this particular drill would work. So, the and again, otherwise, we're moving along. There's a number of projects and lots of moving pieces as we approach town meeting, and just in general, lots of good things going on. So.
Try to keep our end of the bargain rolling fast.
When do you anticipate that you'll be bringing forth any of the budget for review? I know we received a copy, but.
You mean the 2016? I'm meeting. I've met with some departments already. Going to continue to meet this week and next week. So as early as the 3rd, I'll give you a draft.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Good.
gotta keep it within the boundaries.
And
So
the school has already started with theirs.
the school has already had a public presentation on the
Yes,
first
yes,
draft.
already.
They're at it again tomorrow
completed
night.
a draft.
I was there. It was very good, and people asked questions.
Okay. So we are now going to, enter into executive session. We have a bunch of, minutes to review, from previous executive session minutes. Those need to be, approved by the board in executive session. So, I am looking for a motion to go into executive session, under exceptions 2, 3, and 6, to, review the minutes and vote on approving of the minutes from August 26, 2014, which was held under exceptions 2 and 3, regarding health insurance. The minutes of September 2nd, exceptions 2 and 3, again regarding health insurance, as well as litigation, collective bargaining, and multiple litigation matters. The minutes from September 10th, under exception 2, we discussed current litigation matters. September 23, exceptions 2 and 3, it was a joint meeting with the school committee regarding health insurance for union and non-union employees. September 29th, exception 6, a lease of the property at 91 Sawyer Street. The minutes from October 7th, 2014, under exception 6, discussion of the lease of property at 91 Sawyer Street. The minutes from October 16th, 2014, executive session under exception 2 and 3, a joint meeting with the school committee regarding health insurance for union and non-union personnel. Minutes from October 21st, 2014, executive session under exception 6, the lease of property at 91 Sawyer Street, and the minutes from November 5th, 2014, exception 6, lease of property at 91 Sawyer Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those are in favor of entering into executive session, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we are now.
No.
think you need to roll.
Oh, thank you, you're right,
Roll
and
call
also
vote.
we, in the motion, we're only, we will, come back into public session to adjourn only. So a roll call vote.
So-
Kevin?
Aye. Kevin, aye. McCarthy, aye.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Karen Quigley, aye.
Martha yesterday,
Okay. We are now in executive session. Thank you, everybody.